Greetings, wastelanders, and welcome back to my channel, or welcome to my channel to those of you who are just tuning in. In today's video, I am going to go over different ways to acquire junk and screws. Before we get started, I would like to give a quick shout out to No, who is the person that made this suggestion for this video in the comments. As always, I greatly appreciate all of your guys' feedback and suggestions for future videos, so please keep them coming. And with that, let's jump into the video. While there are not a lot of perk cards that are beneficial when it comes to junk in this game, there are three that you may want to consider. And those are Scrapper, Pack Rat, and Contractor. Each one of these perk cards comes with its limitations. For example, Scrapper is only useful whenever you are breaking down armor or weapons. Pack Rat is only useful to reduce the weight of the junk you're carrying, and I do not recommend carrying a lot of junk with you, because when you die, you will lose your junk. And Contractor, while useful, is only useful whenever you are building or modifying your base. All in all, there are not very many perks that are useful when it comes to junk in this game. If you are looking for specific junk to build weapons, armor, or what have you, it is very handy to know that there is a component view in your Pip-Boy. This will allow you to see what all the individual components of your junk are. It will also allow you to tag certain items or junk that you want to see, and that way, when you go out into the wasteland, you can easily identify what items have the components that you're looking for. Any component that you tag will have a little magnifying glass off to the side of it. This magnifying glass will appear on all junk that you encounter in the wasteland, thus telling you that it will have a component that you are currently searching for. For example, if I were in desperate need of aluminum, I could find an item or just the component aluminum and tag it. Anytime I go out in the wasteland and encounter any other junk that potentially has aluminum in it, I won't have to guess anymore, because if it has the magnifying glass off to the side of it, then it does have the aluminum. Keep in mind, if you tag multiple items, the magnifying glass will just notify you that one of those components are present. You will actually have to find out by looking at it as to what component it actually has. I find this feature to be extremely useful, and it eliminates a lot of the Google searching for specific items. Just tag the item, the component that you want, and go about your business, and anytime you see a magnifying glass, you know that it has the components you need. Another thing to keep in mind is that you don't have to possess the components in order to tag them. If there's a specific thing that you're looking for, such as screws for a weapon, whenever you go to craft the weapon at your workbench, if it shows that you're missing those, you can still tag them, and then in the future, when you run into those components, it will be highlighted with that magnifying glass. As specifically requested by No, I am going to cover a couple of methods to accumulate screws relatively efficiently. In my opinion, the absolute best way to get screws is to do the Earl event called a Colossus Problem. You can trigger this event by dropping a nuclear missile on the Monongah mine. Keep in mind, this is a very difficult event, so if you do not have at least 5 or 6 people with decent gear, you're going to have a very difficult time accomplishing this. This event, or boss, is generally considered the most difficult one in the game currently. If you and your group are able to accomplish this event, what you want to do during the event is not so much focus on shooting Earl as much as killing all of the Wendigos that spawn around him. All of these Wendigos will drop dozens of screws that you can pick up. If you are able to farm all of these Wendigos throughout the event, you can easily accumulate a couple of hundred screws by the end of it. One other thing to note is that while you are doing the event, you will not be affected by radiation. However, once the mine collapses and you have to escape, you will be in the middle of a radiation zone. so make sure that you either have some power armor or radiation suit or Chinese stealth armor to help mitigate some of the radiation damage. Other than the Earl event, there are some items that have screws for the components, such as accordions, desk fans, giddy-up buttercup components, and so on. I would highly recommend just tagging screws, as I mentioned before, so that it will tell you what components are present in each item. If you are truly desperate for screws and the Colossus event is not available, you can always go to an NPC or a player vendor and check out what junk they have available. Usually, if you go to the White Spring Resort and you check out 4 or 5 of the vendors, you will eventually run into some bolt screws that you can buy. Just keep in mind, you will have to buy them with caps. If you are just looking for ways to accumulate a large amount of junk and you don't specifically care about what type of junk it is, there are several events that I recommend. If you're looking for steel, for example, Uranium Fever will provide you with quite a bit if you pick up all of the minor gauntlets and scrap them. The usual suspects when it comes to events are also very great for picking up junk, such as Radiation Rumble, Eviction Notice, and Tester Metal. A lot of these will provide you steel as well, but they will also have several components that you can acquire from scrapping all of the weapons and armor that the enemies you kill will drop. Another means of accumulating junk is through what I call passive accumulation. If you pick the right place to build your camp, there are actually resource little nodes that you can hook up an accumulator or a junk collector that will, over time, pick them up. Components such as acid, aluminum, black titanium, coal, concrete, copper, crystal, fertilizer, gold, iron. There's even one called a junk pile. There's one for lead, nuclear material, oil, silver, and so on. All of these can easily be hooked up to as long as you have a camp within the range of it, and you can accumulate them over time. If you guys would like me to create a separate video demonstrating where all these resource nodes are and how to hook them up to your camp, please leave a comment down below. I personally placed my camp just east of Vault 76, not only because it is close to Vault 76 for sales, but also because it has 2 resource nodes, a steel and a copper one that I use quite often. Another means of collecting passive junk is to place a collectron at your base. If you have one of these unlocked, it is simply a matter of placing them and allowing them to collect junk over time that you can therefore take from what they collect. I find these passive means of collecting junk to be extremely helpful, but by no means will they ever be your primary source for collecting junk. They simply do not collect enough junk over time. That being said, they are more junk than you would have gotten without them. The final method I'm going to cover for collecting junk is to claim a junkyard area on the map. There is a multitude of these junkyards throughout the wasteland, and each one of these will allow you to collect different types of junk. You can easily tell what each one will have available if you put your cursor over the specific junkyard, and it'll highlight the item off to the side and let you know what you could potentially collect from that site. Similarly to the nodes at your base, you will have to build an extractor in order to collect the junk passively over time. Because of this, you will have to not only claim the site, but also build the extractors and all the power connections to the extraction zones. Unless you are planning on being online and holding down that specific site for quite a while, then this method probably is not the most optimal. But if you do have quite a bit of free time available, you could potentially claim multiple junkyard sites and continuously go around in a loop around the map, collecting all of the junk from the extractors. And that pretty much covers all of the methods I have for acquiring screws and other various junk. Please keep in mind that if you're looking for a specific component that isn't a screw, which I covered, and you aren't wanting just generic junk, You can always quickly Google search where specific components are typically located, and then go to those places and, try your luck at finding them. There are far too many components for me to take the time to specifically go over each individual one. This video would have been insanely long. That being said, if there are other specific components that you would like me to make a video on how to collect them quickly and efficiently, please leave a comment down below and I will get to that. Thank you again to No for the video suggestion, and thank you to all of you who have been communicating with me in the comments. I appreciate every comment, and I take the time to read it and try to learn and improve with each video from your guys' comments. As always, this video did take me quite a bit of time to put together for you guys, so if you appreciated it, learned something new, or find it even slightly entertaining, I would appreciate it if you could give it a like. And if you aren't subscribed, it would be amazing if you did, because then you'll be notified when I release new content. And with that, I'll catch you in the next one.